So, after gaming for a few hours on this neat game called Eternal Return, it's free by the way, you've undoubtedly come across this spawn of hell zipping and dashing around the battlefield, mowing you and your backliners to clean ribbons while hardly taking a dent of damage herself. And after some thought and consideration, you've decided to join in on the action. Either to finally understand how to combat it yourself, or to just join the ranks of chaos that have haunted you so you can inflict it onto others. Regardless, I am here to try and explain what makes this shark-looking, sword-fiending, blue Dante sister disaster lesbian so goddamn annoying to go against. But before I do, I need to bring up some disclaimers. I am not a samurai gamer. I've played this game for a decent amount of time and I've sunk a good amount of hours into this character. But I am still a casual gamer at heart who likes playing with a full squad and barely, if ever, touch ranked. What I'm trying to say is that yes, I like to think that I'm pretty good at the game, but I know damn well that I ain't the best of the best. So take everything that I say with a modicum of salt. Also, I am going to assume you have some general know-how about the game and its systems and terms, like skill amp, weapon mastery, etc. If you don't, I've got some other videos that loosely explain most of them. Now then, without further ado, let's get to me telling you how to play Hisui. Looking at the stats, Hisui is shockingly kind of behind when compared to other folks who similarly go in and not let go. Hell, we can even go further and realize that the sword she loves using so much just give her attack speed whenever she masters them. So how and why is she such a menace on the battlefield? To answer that question, and then some, let's roll on over to her skills. The first part of Hisui's passive forces her basic attacks to not be affected by extra attack speed. Instead, her attacks get faster every time she levels up. To make up for it, any additional attack speed that she has, be it from her gear or her weapon mastery, will increase her attack power as well. Now that may sound kinda nuts, but I assure you we ain't done talking about her attack speed just yet. As for the second half of her passive, it gains a stack whenever Hisui casts any of her skills. It can hold up to 2 stacks at the same time, and you can spend those stacks by basic attacking things. Once you do, Hisui lowers the cooldown of her Q and E, and also gets a brief boost of movement speed. Now, spoiler alert, a lot of your damage is going to come from your skills, so being able to sneak in a basic or two between your skills so you can keep them in a low cooldown is going to come in real handy. You also don't really have to worry about managing the stacks, as you get the stacks for simply casting the skills. You don't even have to hit anything with them. Now, before I talk about her Q, let's talk about her W first, as it's pretty much the reason you want to cast any of her other skills. Yes, I'm doing this again. It's not my fault that Nijirin Kai members have weird movesets. Hisui's W has no cooldown and it cannot be casted on its own. Instead, it relies on its own different stacks that stock up whenever you do hit something with your skills. Now to get this out of the way quickly, Hisui's passive stacks and her W stocks are not the same thing. Anytime I talk about stocks from now on, I'm talking about her W, okay? Anyways, as I said, whenever any of your other skills hit someone, your W gains a stock. You can hold up to 3 stocks, and depending on the amount you have, your W changes into different moves. The stocks all get spent once she finally casts it, otherwise they'll all go away eventually after a good amount of time passes. All the moves that come from this skill also speed up depending on her attack speed, so if you have lots of it, these moves will swing fast. With 1 stock, hitting W will have Hisui quickly slash in front of her twice, with the second hit hitting a little harder. Hitting someone will also give Hisui a small shield that gets bigger the more people she hits with it. If she's got 2 stocks, her W will turn into a thin skill shot that once it hits something, Hisui will dash to the farthest target that was hit and send them airborne briefly while simultaneously dealing damage to everyone that was in her path. This does require her to actually hit something though. Otherwise, she'll just stand there and look like a clown if she misses. If you got all 3 stocks, Hisui disappears completely while also rapidly slashing all around her. Each slash heals her based on the damage done, with the final slash dealing the most damage. Now, as you may have noticed, this skill can do a lot of different things depending on how you manage your W stocks. I'll get into more detail about these further in the video, but for now, let me just summarize all of her other skills first. Her Q has Hisui spin her sword around quickly and follow up with an overhead chop which slows anyone hit. The spin itself doesn't go very far, but the chop after does have some decent range to it, so long as you can land it. Also, despite this move hits twice, you can only stock up her W once if something is hit. If you've got a lot of attack speed, this move gets a lower cooldown and swings way faster in accordance to it. Her E has her backdash quickly before dashing forwards with an odd curve, with anyone caught in the dash taking damage. This dash can go over walls, and despite how it looks, it's pretty interruptible.
Okay, not like interruptible, but you can push her around during it.
This move also gets a lower cooldown and faster dash speed if you got a lot of attack speed. Do you see the trend here? Her weapon skill makes her enter a blocking stance where she completely negates any damage and CC being thrown her way for a brief moment. After that, she'll lunge forward with her sword and deal damage to anyone in the way. And for the icing on the cake, her ultimate. Hisui's R comes in 2 steps. Pressing it once has Hisui pull out her biggest sword that makes her basic attacks hit farther and way harder. If you press her ult a second time, Hisui will slash the ever-loving f*** out of everything in front of her, even slowing down any one hit. Then ends it off with a big mighty smash in the center that deals true damage and even executes anyone below a certain health threshold. While Hisui is doing all of that, she is completely uninterruptible to boot. Also, if you cast the second part of her ultimate, the first part of it, the enhanced autos, still stay on for their full duration. So you don't have to try and save the second part to the last second if you want to keep the strong autos. And I believe that's about it, to put it briefly. Don't worry, I'll have a lot to say about her skills in more detail after this segment of the video. But for now, that's about all of her skills, roughly explained.
But I'm not done yet!
Now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's see how we can tie this all together in a real match.
Now, believe it or not, despite the fact that Hisui is quite literally all about attack speed, you'd still want a good chunk of defense to make sure you don't completely collapse on the first dive. Especially since diving is what you're going to be doing so many times. Regardless, once you pack up a loadout for your travels and go out, you'll quickly find out that all these cool, flashy moves I talked about earlier, yeah, it turns out the enemy gamers aren't going to make it easy for you. What with them wanting to be alive and all that. Combine that with the potential choice paralysis that you will face, having to decide which flavor of bullshit you want to throw out with your W, you'll quickly realize that you'll have to think quickly on your feet once you dive in. This is usually where most of Hisui's difficulty comes in, but it's thankfully also usually the easiest to explain. So let's tackle the skills piece by piece. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna be a little crass during the entire thing. Starting with all of her skills that aren't her W. Now, believe it or not, these skills are quite handy on their own as well, even if you're not using them with the intention of filling up your stocks. Don't get me wrong, you'll still treat them like that most of the time, but they have their cases. Q's damage is quick, simple, and easy. And despite the range, you can still snap someone up with the second part of it if you're on point. Not that getting that close to someone is going to be hard for you. E's backstep covers a lot more ground than you think. Should you prioritize dodging something over hitting someone to get a stock to her W? If you've got 2 already, sure. Otherwise, absolutely not. See, Hisui's strength lies in the fact that you can't shake her off once she's in. Typically, this stickiness starts off with her E, whenever you don't have any W stocks to your name. So if that's the case, for the love of God, don't miss this. Otherwise, not only will you remain stockless, but also in front of a lot of angry folk who really want you dead. Thankfully, even after a mishap like that, you're not completely boned just yet, for you also have Hisui's R. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Don't treat this like an ultimate. This is a basic skill. Cast this shit off cooldown all the damn time. I'm mostly talking about the second part of it. Don't get too precious with the idea that it executes. It still deals a metric ton of damage regardless of the state of their health. But that's not the only reason we're casting it 24/7. It also gives you a W stock, meaning that you can also use her ult as an alternative to getting stock in the off chance you miss any of her other basic skills, or to quickly build up 3 stocks if the time calls for it. And if that still doesn't convince you to liberally use her ultimate, reminder that you are completely unstoppable while doing it. See, whenever you jump over a tank and meet face to face with their backliners, if they aren't dashing away from you, they'll likely try to push you away in some way. Sure, you could likely just use her weapon skill to power through all of it, but what if you just killed them then and there at the same time? In case I haven't been clear yet, her ult does so much good for her that I can't really find a way to be funny about it. Just pop it whenever you enter any fight, especially a team fight, as once you run them through, the cooldown of her ult will be so short that you'll likely have it back for the next one. Whew, anyways, I can finally talk about her W skills, which, funnily enough, are gonna take less time. Now, despite how small the shield on her W1 looks, reminded you only need 1 stock to get access to this attack, and that W has no cooldown. So you can keep reapplying the shield over and over, and realize that this tiny little bar of orange is a lot more durable than it looks. Helpful to buy yourself some time to finish off any stragglers after a big fight, among other things. Seriously, this move is pretty damn handy. Use it a lot. As for W2, this is going to be your most used W move. And for good reason. See a backliner thinking they can zone you out? teleport behind them. They try to use their dashes and CC to gain some distance afterwards, do it again. Someone else on their team arrives to the rescue to slow you down and they're slowly waddling away? Nuh-uh. Ranged characters hate her. I cannot stress how goofy it is that so long as you're casting skills and hitting, you can lock onto any poor schmuck in your line of sight and just make their life miserable because, reminder, W has no cooldown.
Also, as you may have noticed with the clips shown in the video, you can in fact start dives with W2 instead of E, which is usually the better choice, has no cooldowns are spent, you're point blank at someone's face, and if you miss, you're not in the worst position for it. Now the obvious question would be, how do I get stacks before I get into a fight? The answer is animals. If you don't mind partaking in some PETA activities, you can stock up your W on some bystander animals before leaping into the worst animal of all.
The only obvious downside is that the skill shot is pretty easy to miss. And once you do, repeat everything that I said about missing your E previously in the video. And lastly, the big mama herself. W with 3 stocks is kinda shit, to be honest. Don't get it twisted. The move itself is very absurd. You become completely untargetable, hit everything nearby, and heal during the entire thing? How isn't this busted? Well, for starters, you're completely stationary during the entire thing. And Hisui doesn't get to move right away once she's done being all stylish. Meaning that if anyone's still alive after this move, which unfortunately is gonna happen often, they have a pretty easy target to throw their skills at. Besides that, you also have to consider that the enemy gamers can see your W stocks, see that you're walking right to them, and likely consider, wow, she's gonna do that bullshit again, I guess we can get away. Obviously, this isn't gonna be the case a lot of the time. If a team fight is scrambly enough, you can deal some really good damage with this move. But that's if they're not paying that much attention. So if you're going to use W3 in any way, chances are you'll use it as a method to buy time for your friends to arrive instead of their own nonsense, instead of actually killing anyone with it. Think of it like a complicated version of stasis, but you get to kill people while doing it. Honestly, if you want a move that destroys everything while they can't do anything to stop you, refer to ult. And with that, I've said my piece. Much as I'd love to say that once you understand everything on paper, Hisui is pretty simple, but she really isn't. This character is hard, and it's definitely gonna take a good few games to finally get the hang of her kit, let alone collecting heads with her. That includes the times you miss your abilities, so now you're in the middle of a war zone with no power and reach, or the monstrous amount of CC you'll be pinned down with if you're not on point with your defense. But once you finally nail it all down, piece it all together, have it all shift in your head with a satisfying click, you will see how unstoppable you could truly be, how invincible you could truly feel, how deep down in your heart you realize you're actually just playing UMBC3 Virgil but in the MOBA format, how everyone in the lobby will shout your name in spite and anguish once they see you lock her in the character select screen. Because once you're good with Hisui, God are you good with Hisui. So go grab your sword collection and make sure to cut them all down.
I won. Therefore, I get to keep it. Don't like it? Don't care.